absolute slow motion train wreck of Cracker Barrel as they attempted to do a woke rebrand of a Christian Southern hospitality down home cooking institution, which I'm sure you have great memories at, and so do I. And they've desecrated it and vandalized it, and they destroyed their logo, they destroyed their dining experience, and they've now destroyed their company. It's looking like it may well be worse than what happened to Bud Light. We'll see what happens in the end. We're only a week in, but the destroyer of brands, the Grim Reaper, is knocking at the door of Cracker Barrel. His name is Robbie Starbuck, and he has done a full-scale investigation that will stun you. First, a really quick wrap-up before we get to Robbie's breakdown of what's truly happening inside of Cracker Barrel. One, Cracker Barrel redid their brand, obviously. Their woke CEO got dragged within an inch of her life. She's got the Rachel Maddow glasses, Keith Olbermann glasses. You see those glasses, you got to run. Big, clunky, plastic frame glasses. Those people have problems. Their stock lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Then they got sued for discriminatory practices saying we're going to incentivize the hiring of pretty much everybody who's not like a straight white guy. Right? Yeah, pretty much like betraying your clientele and betraying also like the people who make your customer base work, right? The people who made your company work in the first place. Anyway, they're getting sued as along with just getting the kind of brand damage that you may well never recover from. And to top it all off, Cracker Barrel then attacks the fans. Oh, this is the worst move. Attacks the fans. Well, ladies and gentlemen, one of the fans of Cracker Barrel, Robbie Starbuck, somebody who lives in Tennessee, this is a brand that is based in Tennessee, and decided to go in and do one of his full-scale investigations. I want to start off by breaking down this incredible nearly 20-minute video, and we have just short snippets we're going to play for you, and I encourage you to go and watch all of it on Robbie's channels, which will be linked in the description. But I want to break down like the main root of the parasitic infestation of this great American institution. It's the same root as ever. It is activists who wormhole their way in to these corporate structures, and then instead of selling biscuits and gravy, they push activism. They use the brand to push ads. It's totally parasitic, and just like a parasite, it feeds off the host like a tapeworm, kills it, and then it moves on. And that's exactly what happened at Cracker Barrel. This is what Robbie discovered. I want to start off here with Robbie giving you sort of a pedigree of how bad things are about to get for Cracker Barrel. This is the graveyard of Robbie Starbuck.
For the last year, our movement has killed woke policies at some of the biggest companies on earth. And companies that fight us, that test us, they meet their economic demise. When we targeted Tractor Supply, they lost $2 billion in market cap. When we targeted John Deere, they lost 10. When we targeted Harley Davidson, they fought back for the longest out of any company until finally caving to us, and it has utterly destroyed them that they fought us. I can go on and on down a list. Now, which path will Cracker Barrel take? I don't know, and honestly, I don't particularly care because we've won. They just don't know it yet. You see, their options now are to apologize, fix this, have heads roll, and get back to sanity, in which case we win, or economic Armageddon. They'll stretch this out and have multiple horrific earnings reports as they realize people stop going to shop there and to eat there. Either way, we win. It's just a matter of choosing the easier fix-it path now or the more painful path later. The choice is theirs. So it's their time for choosing now, but we are not going to give our money to people who hate us, hate our values, and hate our country. A conservative can't give their money to Cracker Barrel. A Christian cannot give their money to Cracker Barrel. And so we won't. It's critical that we spread the word about this so our friends and family know what's going on. And I don't care about monetizing this video. Take it, use it, clip it, post it anywhere you want. You can monetize it yourself for all I care. Take the evidence that I've put out, though, and make your own content. I don't care how you do it, but make sure you expose this company for who they really are. And to the good people employed at Cracker Barrel, I'm sorry this is happening, but I know many of you stand with us, and we stand with you.
So that's the sort of meme of Robbie Starbuck, the graveyard of all the companies that he has been able to gut, and he has. He's the single most effective activist. He's the single most effective voice on anti-DEI in the world. Now Robbie goes in and starts talking about what actually happened at Cracker Barrel. And it begins, of course, with an obsession with alphabet propaganda.
Investigated Cracker Barrel. And what I'm about to show you is a company infested with left-wing activists who are more interested in safe spaces, pronouns, and virtue signaling than they are in their customers. I think the best way to start is by telling you what you've been funding if you've gone to Cracker Barrel in recent years. So let's start with Nashville Pride. Yes, Cracker Barrel is a proud sponsor of Nashville Pride and have been part of it for over a decade, along with participating for multiple years in Evansville, Indiana's Third River City Pride event. They even made LGBTQ plus rocking chairs for these Pride events, the same Pride rocking chair that they put front and center in their Tennessee corporate office and at their 2019 Managers Conference for the Cracker Barrel managers. That Tennessee corporate office I mentioned is located in a place called Wilson County, one of the most conservative counties that you will find in America. The fact that it's located there is important to this story because what's happened here is a microcosm of the parasitic operating procedure of left-wing activists. Like a parasite, they embed and spread. They don't just want to force their soulless, godless, hedonistic vision of the future onto blue hellscapes that their party controls. No, it's much more important to them that they shove it down into your towns, into your kids' schools, and into your way of life. So sticking a pro-trans rocking chair into their headquarters in a predominantly conservative town is exactly the type of thing they revel in doing. And for a food service company, you might be thinking their focus should be good food and good service, but their own website says, quote, "This year, Cracker Barrel's focus was to be a part of the Pride experience."
A lot of this is, of course, created by a DEI mafia inside of these companies. And this is what Robbie was able to discover, the DEI infestation at Cracker Barrel.
They're very proud of their pro-trans rocking chairs, let me tell you. They call it, quote, "bringing the front porch to Pride." And if you think that's out of alignment with their customers, well, you're right. But it doesn't end there. The Cracker Barrel website says that they believe that diversity and pride are pillars that should guide decision-making year-round. In fact, to uphold these values, Cracker Barrel also engaged with the HRC and the Out and Equal Advocates Workplace Conference. More on the HRC later, but let's dive into Out and Equal. For those who don't know, Out and Equal is an organization focused on forcing sexuality and transgenderism into the workplace. Cracker Barrel sponsored their conference and really went the extra mile by creating rocking chairs in every color of the LGBTQ plus pride flag. This was part of a large DEI push at Cracker Barrel corporate in recent years. Cracker Barrel was so devoted to this DEI push before most even knew DEI was a thing that they were given an award by the Out and Equal Advocates for having 2018's top LGBT ERG group. Yes, Cracker Barrel has a special group for LGBTQ plus employees. Again, back in my day, a club about the sex you like to have at work would have been called sexual harassment, but now it's apparently empowering and virtuous if you make a club about it. That's not the only award they've won, though. No, they also won Nashville LGBT Chamber of Commerce's award for corporate diversity. To really drive home how out of touch the company's become, here's a photo of a former Cracker Barrel employee's cubicle, where you can see his pronouns listed on his Out and Equal name tag, along with what appears to be a Gay Pride FBI logo and various virtue signaling signs. Cracker Barrel also took part in something called the Southern States Forum, where they discuss how to advance the far-left agenda and normalize transgenderism and their causes in southern states. At this forum, they did a workshop on the Cracker Barrel, quote, timeline of progress. This is about advancing LGBTQ plus issues. So are you getting Cracker Barrel vibes yet? I doubt it, but buckle in, because the crazy train is just leaving the station.
A lot of this is also driven by the Human Rights Council, which is, like, again, a mafia that threatens corporations that they must be woke, otherwise they're going to get a really bad human rights score. Okay, well, it's not how language works, but here we go. Cracker Barrel was totally owned lock, stock, and barrel by these people.
Now back to the HRC. If you're not familiar with the HRC and you thought of Hillary Clinton, somehow the actual HRC is worse than Hillary. In fact, in the most Orwellian twist, their full name is the Human Rights Foundation. With such a name, you might expect them to speak up for trafficking victims, free speech, religious freedom, or maybe young girls who suffer from genital mutilation in third world countries. But again, you'd be wrong. They actually support the mutilation that left-wing activists call, quote, gender-affirming care for children. And yes, they support the hormones, the surgeries, all of it. The HRC also absolutely hates President Trump. And their president called President Trump a white nationalist who hates America during this last election.
We can have a 34-time felony convicted wannabe white nationalist dictator in office.
The HRC, they want workplaces pushing pronouns, transgenderism, full medical coverage for transitions, and to fund pride events both inside the workplace and outside the workplace. In fact, in this image posted by a former Cracker Barrel employee, you'll see that they've sponsored the HRC's, quote, equality dinner for at least 10 years. They even got a shout out on stage from the HRC for their dramatic embrace of wokeness.
In all of the ways, Cracker Barrel, I see you. I am so thankful that you are here because I have been wanting that hash brown casserole for a long time, and now I feel like I can go back and do it. I see you. I am just thrilled.
Lock, stock, and Cracker Barrel. Just thought about that. So anyway, the rot came from a couple key employees, and Robbie was able to figure out who those were. Here we go.
I remember that cubicle before? It belonged to a former employee who was actually a part of the HRC's Business Advisory Council in Washington, D.C. A very proud moment for Cracker Barrel executives, I'm sure. In fact, his LinkedIn says he's still on the council today. That employee, Steve Smotherman, was also the head of management training and development at Cracker Barrel for 15 years. That explains a lot. So this ideology has been permeating the company since as early as 2005. He left in 2020 to form a corporate consulting company and later to work for Out and Equal, no doubt to advance his cause in more workplaces. And if you think maybe the ideology left with him, you'd be wrong. Meet Rachel Campbell. She acts as the manager of training and development at Cracker Barrel. She's also similarly very excited about their LGBT rocking chairs. And it's important to note all of this because these types of employees play a critical role in turning companies away from the values of their customers and moving the companies toward wokeness. That guy I mentioned, he is the archetype activist employee that fueled the rise of DEI in corporate America. When he was at the company, the HRC and Cracker Barrel were so tight that Cracker Barrel even brought in an HRC representative named Beck Bailey to do a training on transgenderism and pronouns. I'm sure this was extremely helpful with the rush of customers they have that want to be called by they, them, or zim-zer pronouns, because that's apparently the clientele they're after today.
And some of the more shocking revelations here were about illegal immigrants and Cracker Barrel, trying to defend illegal immigrants. Do you know Cracker Barrel probably has the most conservative customer base of any restaurant in the world? And here they are, defending illegal immigrants.
It probably won't surprise you either at this point to find out that a vice president at Cracker Barrel attended the 2024 DEI Industry Roundtable, where she encouraged all employees to champion DEI, and not just those with DEI in their title or diversity in their title. The company had set up a diverse supplier program as well, focused on bringing DEI into how they select suppliers. They also partnered with Middle Tennessee Diversity Forum, and they worked with something called Conexión Américas. To put this in perspective, here's an opinion piece written by the executive director of Conexión Américas, Renata Soto, where she says they partnered with lawyers to help illegal immigrants, and she goes on to message how deportations have created such dark times and virtue signal all the other ways they help illegal immigrants.
The only way out is to put the cracker back on the barrel. Put the guy back on the logo. Apologize to your customers. Say we got it wrong. And people are forgiving. It's amazing the capacity to forgive in this country. People are forgiving. And so do that. Apologize and then get rid of the people who made these decisions.